Hello. Selamat siang semuanya. Greetings saya dari Bali hari ini. Dan hari ini saya merasa excited untuk bisa bicara dengan seorang anak muda yang tapi sudah sangat accomplished, yang sudah banyak do a lot of things, a lot of changes yang benar-benar impactful banget kepada society. Ya, dan hari ini saya sebagai seorang lebih dewasa pengen belajar dari dia dan hopefully banyak orang pun juga bisa belajar dari Melati. Ya, so Melati Wijsen adalah founder daripada Bye Plastic Bags dan juga Utopia. So let's learn from Melati today. So I'm gonna invite Melati right now to our show. Bentar ya, let's see. Hello, hello Melati.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much, Melati. Sorry, are we speaking in bahasa or bahasa?
Uh,
English or bahasa?
Bahasa Inggris lebih bagus, tapi we can ngobrol sedikit aja in bahasa if you want. Up to you. I
Okay,
follow your lead.
okay, alright. Tadi seperti saya pernah mention bahwa you are, sorry, I'm like naturally going into English. You're relatively very, very young, but you have a lot of accomplishments and achievements and accolades from around the world under your belt, right? Because you founded Bye Plastic Bags and now Utopia. But before we go into that, I want to know your background. I read that you went, or I think you graduated already, but you went to green school in Bali, right? May I know why did your parents choose to put you there in the first place? I mean, most parents probably don't think about putting their kids into that kind of school, but why did your parents do that? And is environmental conscious something that's always been your family's culture from the beginning?
Yes. Well, I love this personal question of, the family decision, but also growing up and having gone to the green school. It was actually something my sister and I begged our parents for, so we were really
Oh,
like asking for it for our parents. And the reason why I think our parents gave in is also because the culture of the family we were raised in, my dad is from Surabaya and my mom is from Blenda, so Holland. And, when they married and they got me and my sister, they really created a total different world for me and my sister to grow up in, to thrive in. And I think that, the values that we had as a family was always ask big questions. If you have an idea, come prepared with how you're realistically going to achieve that. Learn from your mistakes. Don't feel like it's a failure, but use it as a stepping stone. So I think those kind of open-ended values very much aligned with Green School's concept and is why we have been pioneer students at that school for the last 10
I
years.
see. Wow. Sorry, what grade did you actually go to green school?
Grade 2 was my first year there. Yeah.
So wait, so you're saying that before grade two, you and your sister have always had the desire to go to the green school. But can you explain a little bit more? What made you wanted to do that? I mean, I know you have to, your parents allow you to ask questions, but what opened up your eyes to see this matter?
Yeah, I think honestly, because Bioplastic Bags is also, it's not a school project. It was not created at the Green School.
Sure.
But I think, when we had this idea of starting to protect the environment and, be more conscious and be more aware of what is environmentally happening is because we grew up in Bali. And yeah, you're here now, right? So you
Just for spring break, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I heard it in your intro, and I was like, "Oh, you're in Bali," but you can already see here how beautiful the nature is. It's
I
it's
see.
paradise to grow up here as a child.
I
We live
see.
100 meters from the ocean. We're surrounded by rice fields. I'll show you real quick. This is the new headquarters at Utopia in our new office. But like, look at my view here. I mean, that's
Wow,
ridiculous, you know?
so jealous. I know.
I know, but and this is what we grew up with. So there is really no question about why or how we got started at such young age because it was the love and the connection we had for the natural world.
I see, I see. No, because one of the thing that, when I posted yesterday on my IG stories that I'm going to be interviewing you, and one of my a friend who's also a mom, she made a joke. She said, these young kids are so accomplished. Actually, we should interview their parents. What did they do to make their children be so accomplished? I really want to know that story. Okay, so you know that in your interviews, right, in your speeches before, you always encourage people to make a change, especially the young ones. But what I've noticed is that actually the younger ones are more active in wanting to have the change, especially when it comes to environment or being green. But actually, when it comes to the adults, they are the ones who are hard to change. They have a lot of concepts and things that, you know, just makes them really inflexible to this. So how can you engage the adults, the older ones, to be able to participate in the change?
Yeah, I think that's the luxury or the privilege or the experience, however you want to call it, that I had as a very young kid, to be invited to all of these adult rooms and conferences where never before a kid had the honor or the
Sure.
moment to take the stage and hold the microphone and make a message. And I think that, to be honest, 7 years ago when I started, I felt that there was interest but no willingness to change from the older generation. Now when I go into a conference room, I'm not the only young person in the room. There is now an incredible willingness from, you know, world leaders, politicians, CEOs to hear from the younger generation. There is a willingness, there is an intention, but the follow through and the implementation is where we get stuck. So, you know, we're still very much brainstorming to your question of how actually do we hold these leaders accountable? And that's why every day what we do is so important, to keep the pressure on, to make sure that what the goals that are being set are actually coming into changing everyday habits.
Can you share with us what is the hardest challenge so far when you engage with government or, you know, private enterprises in your journey for Bye Bye Plastic Bags and also Utopia in talking about this? Can you share a little bit about that? What is the hardest?
Oh, I think honestly, it's a lot of bottled up frustration that change is happening too slowly. You know, oftentimes whenever we are in these high-level meetings, high-level discussions, a lot of excuses keep coming up when we clearly see the solution in front of us should not be this difficult. And as a young change maker, you know, yes, we acknowledge that there are many levels. Yes, we acknowledge that there are a lot of barriers. But if we created those challenges and we created those barriers, how can we solve them more effectively, efficiently, and today? You know, so I think that that's where the frustration and the biggest challenge for me was, dealing with that at such a young age. And still to this day, it's probably one of the most challenging moments for me, just hearing a lot of these excuses coming in and out, and nobody talking about what we can actually achieve.
So again, it's about the executions and being put in action. I would say that is the hardest part right now for people to move, whether it's private enterprises or government. Am I correct?
Correct. And it's you know, we oftentimes still we hear the excuses of, you know, we don't know enough, we still have to do research, we don't have the budget for this, or my least favorite excuse is the people are not ready. I mean, you know, that's where I'm like, we need yes, there's a lot of work to do in changing mindsets. And yes, there's a lot we have to do in changing the education industry, which I'm very interested in working together with the Indonesian government to radically change our school curriculums. And I'll talk about that with Utopia. But besides that, changing mindset is step one. Behavior change is step one. As soon as we empower our communities with the knowledge, the solutions need to come. And they need to be accessible to everybody. And it's not meeting top down, ground up. It's like, you know, so it's chicken and egg situation. And I think that's, you know, where the frustration comes in.
The biggest excuse that I've always heard is, especially for private enterprises, is it's too expensive. Being green sounds very expensive. Like when you talk about restaurant, for example, if they want to go to the plant-based straws, you know, paper bags, those kind of things, they're more expensive than plastic bags, right? What would you say to that? What would your response be to those private enterprises?
Not acting is more expensive. And I wanted to bring up a fact here, and I'm looking now at my computer because I'm the worst with numbers, but here it says, you know, natural disasters that are linked to climate change cause economic losses. For example, the flooding in Greater Jakarta alone has contributed to approximately 5.2 trillion rupiahs in losses. That's massive. You know, and that's clearly, you know, linked to climate change, linked to the climate crisis. It's linked to not taking action. So if we look at the short-term investments, you know, with the long-term in mind, we could solve and prevent so much of this natural disaster economic losses that we're facing today.
You mentioned about Jakarta flooding, and I find that this is something that is very unique to maybe Jakartans. I don't know about Balinese, but Jakartans for sure, because I live in Jakarta. You know, every single, I would say February, March, we always have the flooding, right? Sometimes great, sometimes quite not as great. And then when it happens for that 1 or 2 weeks, everybody complains. The netizens like, oh my gosh, the governor is so bad, blah, 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 right? But then the rest of the year, once the flood is over, like, okay, we forget about it. You know, there's no talk about it. You know, no issues being raised anymore. Like we are very, I would say, tolerant about this. You know what I mean? Even though it happens every single year, like you mentioned, there are a lot of damages, even death sometimes, right? Again, I want to ask you, for a private citizen such as myself, private enterprise, what can we do to continually be aware of this situation? Like, you know, to always put in our head, like, hey, this is dangerous. This is, you know, this is climate change is real. It happened not just in February or in March, but the whole year.
Yeah. Well, I think the first step is one, again, it goes towards self-education, but more so than that, I do have to say that it's also the media that we're consuming. We're very, we put ourselves in a very small bubble. For example, on my social media feed, it's normal for me to see every single day, all days of the year, something related to climate change. But if I talk to my cousin in Surabaya, you know, it's not about climate, it's not about the environment, but it's something that we urgently need to prioritize. So it's up to the media to make it more mainstream that we do talk about environmental crisis, but also environmental solutions to empower all of us. But I also think we need to see these conversations had on a more political level. The local authorities, all the way up to national authorities, need to be holding these conversations in their press conferences, in their public statements, and we're just simply not hearing enough about climate change and the link to our everyday lives. So it's a passing, fleeting moment for those February, March moments, you know?
Right. And I think that's a good point. The media really plays an important role, and I find that the media, I've mentioned this many times in my IG interviews and stories and posts, that the media in Indonesia, journalism, is quite lacking and very biased, and they like to do clickbaits. They don't do the advocacy very well, and it's very unfortunate actually the status of our journalism today in Indonesia. And you know, there's also a lot of I would say anti-women. I would say what's the word? Bias. Like we talk about Greta Thunberg, for example, right? You remind me so much of her, right? Because you both are young, you both are women. But even when she did what she had to do, people were criticizing. Even Donald Trump criticized her, right? Have you ever faced that kind of situations for yourself?
It's very interesting, Grace, actually, because it is Women's Month this month. So, you know, there's a lot of, oh, my phone is going, okay. There's a lot of conversations had and a lot of campaigns going out right now. Currently with Youthtopia as well, we're creating a video series where we go in depth and explore deep questions about what it's like to be a female on the front lines. Yes. You know, and I've had instances, especially when I was younger, you know, really starting out. Every time I would enter, you know, a meeting where we would talk about the policy change or about the regulation change that we'd like to see, oftentimes I was, one, the only female in the room, secondly, the only one below the age of 30. So those two things are really what, you know, lit a fire inside of me. But also when we were met with something like, oh, hello, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at a modeling shoot instead? That is like the biggest slap in the face, you know? Anything against modeling, but it's just it belittles the actions. Exactly. And you know, it belittles your role and your right to be in that room. So yes, I feel like there is so much work to do when it comes to gender equality, and unfortunately here in Indonesia we have a way longer list than some other countries.
All right, and I've been so happy to be able to interview you among other women on my Isolate show, because I really want to promote women, because I feel like it's very inspirational, especially what you have done. But let's talk about what you're doing today. So you have had Bye Bye Plastic Bag for many years, and now you have just started recently, I believe, Youthtopia. Can you explain a bit more about what Youthtopia does?
Yes, so Youthtopia is taking up my 24/7 passion now, after 7 years on the front line with Bye Bye Plastic Bags, speaking to over 200,000 young people. You can imagine we always got the same question, no matter where we were in the world, and that was, how can I do what you do? And I could never answer that question as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old. It was always like, try, just get started. And that's where Youthtopia comes in. We provide everything that the traditional textbook does not. So Youthtopia is a community-centric platform with learning at its core, And we work together with, actually, let me show you, frontline young changemakers. This is totally not planned, but I had this out in front of me because I'm planning my wall and decorating.
Okay.
But who all of these people are, these are our Youthopia Circle of Youth. These are all incredible young changemakers on the front lines, having their own project, their own inventions, their own solutions. And we work together with them under Youthopia to create programs for the rising young changemakers. So all of you young people that are starting to ask questions, how do I create change? How do I build a team? How do I speak in public? You'll be able soon to hear from all of these incredible young people on how to actually create change. So,
sorry, can I ask before you continue? So for these young change makers, is it only for environment, or is it any topics?
Yeah, so that's the next part. The cool part is with bioplastic bags, I fell in love with the environment, fighting up for it, but I also realized that there is so much more to be done, and they're all interconnected issues. The environment with the environment with the refugee crisis, the refugee crisis with agriculture, everything, food security, everything is interconnected. So Youthopia runs on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, if you're familiar with them. The 17 goals set. So in 2015, the United Nations created 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And that is in the hopes that the whole world follows these guidelines, of quality access to education, climate action, life below water, protecting life on land, 17 of these goals that cover all different things, not only the environment. And we have to reach them by 2030. So we are on the countdown, and we believe with Youthopia and pulling all of these young changemakers together in a peer-to-peer learning platform, we can help accelerate that change, because young people can feel that urgency. We know that we don't have the time, and we also do it from a place of non-political ego, no greed, no money-driven intentions. So at the end of the day, we get the shit done, and we inspire that acceleration of actually getting it done. So I think that's the that's the power that we have.
Sorry, it is an NGO.
Youthopia is not an NGO. It is a company set up as a for-profit and a non-profit hybrid.
May I know how you get funded so that it can be sustainable, for many, many years to come?
Well, we're actually currently in our seed funding round, and we're shaping it differently as bioplastic bags. Instead, Youthopia is going to be a set up with an investment round, because, as you said, we want to structure it in a little bit more practical, long-term, sustainable model.
All right. Let me ask you, can capitalism and social impact, such as what you're doing today, can they be matched? Because there are people who always say, well, if you're capitalism, you can't be, social impact, or one or the other, right? Do you think there can be a point where these two can be on the same equilibrium?
1 second, I'm just charging my phone because.
Sure.
Sorry, could you ask me the question one more time?
Right. So do you think there's a meeting point between capitalism and social impact?
Oy, that's a big question. And there's a lot of, insight and commentary of how they do think that they can live amongst each other. I honestly think the reason why we are in this situation, or at a lot of the issues and height of the issues that we're in, is because we don't value the natural things in life as we should. And I do blame that on system and structure. So I do think that we need a radical change. I do think we need to step a little bit more outside of our comfort zone. And that means leaving the systems that no longer work for us. And we see this with the pandemic. We know business as usual, will not work. We know that going back to normal, what is normal? It doesn't exist anymore. So I believe that we have an actual opportunity here to invent systems that are much more innovative, much more circular, and uplift and empower every single one of us. Because also that's what the SDGs are about, right? The 17 goals, the entire purpose of that is to leave no one behind. And currently,
I see.
The the capitalistic system does not include everybody, does not uplift everybody.
How long has Utopia been established?
Utopia launched at the beginning of 2020 because we thought no better year than 2020 forum in Davos. And then the pandemic hit and we had to re-strategize our,
I see.
our calendar, but we've been able to build a really strong community of young people. And as you saw,
Sure.
my wall is ready for really great young people to come together.
And how many youths around the world have you gotten under your Utopia right now?
So currently we have about 70 high-level activists that are
Wow.
operating with their own projects for quite some time.
Wow. Wow.
This year to have 300 as sort of Utopia Circle of Youth members. And then hopefully we get many, many more members. We're launching our online interactive platform very soon. And I'd love to share it with you. I think it'll inspire your audience massively, Grace. But right now, I think, yeah, it's just the beginning. So that's why I'm really excited.
So, you know, Melati, I don't know if you know, but I've been interviewing since only last year because of the pandemic as well. And I always mention that every time I talk to somebody, you know, I really want to learn from them. So last year, for example, I interviewed this vegan activist from Australia. His name is James Aspey. And I was not a vegan. But since I talked to him, I've started to do like, not full time, but 4 to 5 days a week of being a vegan, right? And even with you yourself, you know, I want to learn from you because I believe that I'm not, I'm not too green, but I want to change, right? Even I'm already at this age, I still want to change. So yes, if you have any materials or what have you that you can share, I would love to. I also have a teen daughter and I would love her to be part of Utopia if it's possible.
For sure.
So just head on to your website. Is that it? For any youths who want to join Utopia, how does it work?
Yes, so the best place is to go onto our website and sign up. We are collecting emails for all of those that want to be the first one to be able to join and sign into our membership plan. And then, of course, Instagram, there's just a plug-in for that for daily updates and campaigns. But yeah, very soon in the next week, our website will be live. So then, you know, we'll be welcoming users and community to start growing on Utopia's website, and that's www.utopia.world.
Wait, sorry, is it live now? The website?
Not yet. So we're launching end of this week or early next week, and we'll do a big blast there. And then
all right,
through our master classes, to our mentorship programs,
all
of that.
All right, let me ask you 2 more final questions. One, which social figure in anywhere, a public figure anywhere in the world, would you want to be part of your organization?
Okay, so I'm hoping that someone watching this right now will please get me there because I've been saying this for the longest time. But Bapak Minister Nadiem Makarim,
I know her sister. Okay, I'll forward to her.
To meet with you, sir, and with radically changing the education system in Indonesia.
Okay.
I have been for it. I am very, very, very excited about the potential that Indonesia has. Imagine really empower a generation of change makers. It starts in the classroom.
Okay.
So that's who
yes, I agree.
To work with and have part of Utopia's organization because that's what we want to do.
Okay, I will forward this chat to his sister. Yeah, I don't know if she can do anything, but I'll do it. Okay, I know her from junior high. Okay, I'll do that. that's all I can do. All right, number two. In one word, change is what to you?
In one word, change. I think. Positivity.
Okay, it's. I want to ask you. Don't ask me.
Change. How to describe change is almost just with the word itself of change. But if it has to be positivity.
Positivity. Okay. Melati, I so appreciate the time and I so appreciate what you're doing. Not a lot of people are doing what you're doing, especially at your age. So I really hope that my daughter also, I have 3 girls, but I do hope that my eldest, especially because she's a teen, really will be inspired by you. And I definitely will ask her to check out Utopia. And guys, if you guys are youths or if you guys have teenage children, yeah, please go ahead and they're going to go live soon at utopia.world. And Melati, sorry, I think I just lost you a little bit there. Hello, Melati? Oh,
I'm here.
sorry, the internet is quite... All right, sorry. Melati, I thank you so much for your time. But I'll send this video to Hannah, okay? So Hannah, if you're watching, please think about Melati, okay? I think what she's doing is really great. And you're right, it starts with education, even from a very young age. Melati, thank you so much once again for your time. Really appreciate it. Be safe, okay? And be healthy.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.